So about 5 years ago, I basically out of nowhere, I got a one-star review, and I looked up the person's name and I couldn't tell who it was. It wasn't a client, and I even looked at my all my leads and in my email inbox, and I couldn't even find the person. Somebody named that name. So I started looking. I'm like, okay, this was probably most likely a competitor. Still to this day, I don't know who it was.
Well, tell us a little bit about your legal journey, your law firms, and how you have mastered automating them.
Sure. So I started my law firm 7 years ago. At the time, I had no mentor, no formal education on business side of generating clients online. So I went on a self-education journey, reading a lot of books and watching a lot of YouTube videos. And my epiphany came when I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book that exposed me to three key principles. First, the virtual business model. Second, automation, having a business that runs on its own. And the third part, scalable. That's just using a lot of online tools and a lot of ways to be able to grow quickly without me necessarily doing more work. And at that point, I made a promise to myself. I'm like, this is so amazing. So from now on, any business decision I make for my law firm has to align with those three key principles. It had to be virtual, so I wasn't tied to any physical time or location. It had to be somehow automated, so it would take me out of the process. And it had to be scalable. It had to be able to grow quickly without me necessarily doing one-to-one interactions. And fast forward, I was able to apply all those concepts to my first law firm. I was able to replicate it over and over. Now I've been able to successfully apply to three of my law firms that have grown to multi-million dollars. They're actively running and fully automated and running on their own. And now for the past 2.5 years, I've been on a journey to pass on these things that I'm currently doing for my own law firms and passing on to other lawyers and show how it is possible to run a law firm that's very non-traditional, that's very virtual, that's also allows you, gives you the freedom to be able to basically run it your way and not in a very systematic, like you have to do it this way.
That's awesome. That is fantastic that you were able to find the right mentor to give you the foundation to use to make your law firm successful. And so kind of you to share, as you say, the secret sauce to help other law firms succeed in the same way. And, having lots of success bringing on great clients, but also being able to free up time for themselves and their lives and be able to live the lifestyle they want while still helping out their clients in a meaningful way. But since we are focusing on reviews, just how many reviews do you have?
3,200 Google reviews as the time I'm recording this. If anybody doesn't believe me, just go Google Mollaei Law, my last name Law. I started this law firm about 7 years ago, but let me share with you my story of how I got here. So about 5 years ago, I basically out of nowhere, I got a one-star review, and I looked up the person's name and I couldn't tell who it was. It wasn't a client, and I even looked at all my leads and in my email inbox, and I couldn't even find the person. Somebody named that name. So I started looking. I'm like, okay, this was probably most likely a competitor. Still to this day, I don't know who it was. And basically started looking around, how can I get rid of this review? And I realized that there's no way to get rid of this negative review. And I realized that a good defense is good offense. So I went on offensive to try to collect as many reviews as I could. And at that point, I had a little dilemma. Where do I collect my reviews? And I noticed all my competitors and all the people that were lawyers at the time were collecting reviews on Avvo, on Facebook, on Trustpilot, and all these third-party platforms. And I realized these platforms are third-party websites that rely on Google to get their traffic. So what happens if Google decides to release a thing called Google My Business, and they want to be the main place where businesses will be instead of Avvo? So I kind of had this kind of foresight. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to collect my reviews on Google because that's going to be by far the most important. Google is going to use that for your SEO. Most likely, we'll probably use it for Google Ads, which they did. And they started using it for Google Local Servers ads, which they did. So I started collecting a lot of Google reviews. I, kind of made a promise to myself. I'm going to, create a system to be able to automate it. Luckily, there was a little concept that I learned about micro commitment, that I learned about link building, which I'm sure your company does. And I took that idea and applied it to collecting reviews, which has proven to be very fruitful. And now for this law firm, I have 7,000 clients, and about 40% of those clients leave me reviews, which now amounts to 3,200 Google reviews.
That is fantastic. What a great statistic that you're able to generate so many reviews from your clients. I know that many of our listeners here would love to be able to get half of their clients, assuming that they are satisfied with their services, but to be able to get that many clients to actually commit to leaving reviews and following through on that. And so this is clearly a priority for you. Why do you think it's so important to generate reviews?
With online these days, because it's, online allows people to be able to look up anybody. So that makes it very easy to be able to create a law firm. So now there's a lot more law firms than there were before. At the same time, you need to have a way to differentiate yourself from the next person. And there's no bigger factor than reviews that builds up trust. That's literally usually the biggest difference between you and someone else, is how much trust the other people have put in you. And people, when they're trying to decide whether they should hire you, they rely on other people's decision to help them make them decide. So I kind of realized that was like a very big trust factor and a big conversion factor to turning more leads into clients. And the way that I see it is that reviews is the last part of your client generation system in your law firm. And that the more clients you get, the more reviews you get, and the more reviews you get, the more clients you get. It's basically like a positive feedback loop. You need to make sure that it's all feeding each other. If you make sure that if you have the last part, then again, it will have that positive feedback loop for you to get more clients.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And when you have all of these law firms competing against each other online, everybody can say that they're the best law firm. And especially in, saturated markets where you have, I'm the best law firm in Los Angeles, and you have like the super lawyers badges. It's so confusing for clients, but nothing is going to be a more genuine testimony to your services than somebody who has already been helped by your firm and has had a positive experience. And a lot of people do share those experiences on Google. And you mentioned Avo, but does it matter whether people are leaving reviews on Google versus Yelp versus, as you said, Avo? Why focus on Google?
And totally, yeah. I think it's probably will be, I would assume, 8 to 10 times more effective to gather a review on Google long term than collecting anywhere else. So I do see it is a mistake to be able to collect reviews on Avo. If it has worked for you up to this point, great. But again, everything is about having the future in mind. Google is dominant; they own the entire web. So yeah, definitely collect. If you are going to collect reviews, definitely on Google with 100% certainty.
Lawyer Nation, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, take a moment right now to subscribe right below and turn on the bell notification to get notified every time I post a video, because right now I'm posting 5 videos a week, providing lots of value to lawyers. So click right here to subscribe, and to watch the next most relevant video, click right here. Go do it. Go watch it.